President Jackson. I would like to talk to you about your monopoly policy and how you view business as a whole.
Mr. Rockefeller, I was fully against monopolies. I did not support the monopolies in the Charles River Supreme Court case or the Second National Bank.
But where did this hatred towards successful business start?
I wanted to represent the person I was before the unwanted fame. I grew up in a frontier cabin, and I wanted to represent the common man, the working class individuals. I did not want to have businesses use and manipulate the common folk of this nation, much like you did with your oil drilling. I tried to do as much as I could to stop monopolies like yours from rising to prominence in America. Now tell me, Mr. Rockefeller, how did you amass such an empire?
I was able to think smart and use the newest railroad companies and cut prices for my oil and drove my competitors out of business. I controlled almost the entire oil industry by 1881. I was able to use my connections with those railroad companies to further my profits and gain the empire that I had. The veto of the Second National Bank, in my opinion, was a problem that led you to hurt businesses, not support it. How ignorant must you be to go out and do what you did?
The veto was to stop monopoly and stop the secrets and lies that are being held by private sectors of our own national bank. It was done to protect this nation, as the bank was simply unconstitutional in its practices. It's people like you, Mr. Rockefeller, that led to my decision. The obsession with money only served those at the top of the economic chain and was detrimental to those at the bottom. How can you possibly sit here and call me ignorant when you yourself drove thousands out of work with your own selfish business practices?
I was not being a selfish man, rather a charitable one. The railroad industry was booming, and consumers want the cheapest and best products available. I was able to provide the service to them, and the elimination of my competition was not at my hands, rather at the hands of the consumers. A perfect example of your short-sightedness, Mr. President, is clearly shown by your handling of the Charles River Bridge versus Warren Bridge Supreme Court case. You surely cannot sit here and justify that at the hands of stopping a monopoly.
The Supreme Court ruling in question was delivered by Supreme Justice Robert Taney, not myself. As you know, the Supreme Court protects the Constitution and in turn protects this nation from injustice. The company that built the Charles River Bridge was focused on monopolization and controlling an industry, not serving the people as you so unceremoniously sit here and so disrespectfully proclaim. You sit on a throne built upon manipulation and selfishness. How on earth do you possibly sleep with yourself at night, Mr. Rockefeller?
I could ask you the very same, Mr. President. I sleep comfortably, knowing that I have served my consumers and they have served me. Need I remind you that this is the United States of America, and the people in it are not shackled by a dictator-like rule. The people have the freedom to choose, Mr. President. It is a right, as declared in the document that you claim is so near and dear to your heart. For the people to choose where they get their product and by what rule. I simply gave those in need something they wanted at a price where they could have turned anywhere else to purchase their oil. If I'm only here, Mr. President, to be accused of indecency and selfishness for being a successful man, I will simply show myself out.